fantastic news surrounding Zebec and extremely tough price action surrounding Zebec as well. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about the one and only Zebec network. We're going to cover two pieces of news and then we are going to go into technical analysis. I will say it is actually very hard right now, the technical analysis. It requires some more patience, but you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. Anyways, look, we're leveling up our treasury operations. Zebec is thrilled to announce that we'll be managing our treasury with Uphold Inc. Institutional, a trusted partner, serving 10 million plus users consisting of both retail and institutional traders. First off, I just want to say, right, every time I see a dash nowadays, it just reminds me like this is just chat GPT written. Now, I'm not saying this is, and I'm not even shitting on Zebec, but I'm just saying like so many people use chat GPT nowadays, and it always includes a dash, and no one has ever, I swear, no one has ever, been using the dash before. But that's a whole nother thing. Anyways, Uphold is a key partner of Zebec, holding nearly 100 million Zebec tokens across its retail and institutional wallets. As Zebec seeks to grow its institutional presence in key markets such as the US and UK, this partnership should continue to drive institutional adoption across investors and financial partners. So huge. We can see 170,000 views, right? Uphold Inc. has 200,000 followers. Very big, very amazing, right? We can also see May buyback is complete. We've bought back, what is this? Pretty much 15,000 Zebec, roughly $60,000. Our payback program keeps growing alongside the expansion of Zebec card suite and our Science Card UK acquisition. While May was delayed due to acquisition accounting, we're now back on track for monthly buybacks. So very nice. Very nice. I don't know why people keep calling this a scam. I don't know what's wrong with people personally. Even if it was a scam, hypothetically, they still think maybe a 3x, 3.5x, just saying. Anyways, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. I didn't make a 3.5x, but that's not the whole point, right? That's not the point. We can see we're at 277,000 followers. And yeah, I believe we're going to continue to grow in followers. The views are great on this, right? We can see 10 hours ago, 76,000 views, right? A retweet from obviously Uphold Inc., 76,000 views, 99,000 views, right? 168,000 views. Now, people might think this is a small thing. It's not. The ratio is really good on this account. Really good. Really active, 103,000 views, 101,000, 79,000. It matters, people, because if the views were, let's say, 25% of this, well, ladies and gentlemen, it would be literally, 3 to 4 times smaller in terms of how many people see this, the activity and everything. So is it good? It's good to see. Proud of Zebec Network. Now, listen, price action is very tough. Very tough. We, right, are consistently tapping into order blocks. We are consistently tapping into these wicks, these institutional candles. Now, if you trade this way, or you know anything about this, this is usually a way for projects and institutions to be exiting positions. It is not a coincidence that they are going into the same type of block on a consistent basis to then sell off and go lower and lower. I promise you, people, I'm not crazy. People that know about this type of trading, they will see and they will tell you, right? They will tell you that this is consistently tapping into order blocks, right? Some on a smaller time frame. I mean, we can even see, let's see, one on the 3 minute. No, probably one on the 1 minute. It sometimes doesn't look the prettiest, but you get the general picture, right? You get the general picture. This one is tapping into this one. This area is tapping into this. This tapped into this. Sometimes you see it on the 1 minute. Sometimes you see it on the 5 minute. So we're consistently selling off, right? We're consistently doing this type of manipulation. But ladies and gentlemen, we are also kind of consistently holding our own, right? We're kind of consistently holding our own, and that's the reality, okay? Because although we are selling off, we can see that, yeah, the floor, technically this was like a lower low on the 4 hour, but since the daily was a higher low, that doesn't count. It overrides it, right? It overrides. So we have to look at the context. We have to be fair, right? We can see that we kind of have this bottom over here. This whole zone, right? This whole zone that I have boxed up here was a higher low on the daily. And we can see that the floor is getting higher, but the roof is getting shorter. Okay. So Zebec really has limited time and it needs to decide. Now, I will say this is actually helping Zebec's case that Bitcoin has dropped a drastic amount. Bitcoin has dropped, what, like 6K? Right? We went from 123,000, let's just say, to at one point down to here. We dropped 7,000. Jesus. Right? We dropped like 6% on Bitcoin. Okay, like pretty much 6% on Bitcoin. But Zebec didn't really take a hit, right? Sure, it went down a couple percent. Sure, it's kind of like struggling, but it's not selling off. It's not dumping, which is a fantastic sign because I do believe Bitcoin will recover. I genuinely do believe Bitcoin will recover. I don't think this is the top. I don't think, we had a fake out last week and now we're slamming back lower. If that's going to be the case, that will suck that the cycle tops around 123,000, right? But I don't think that's the case. I really don't. Either way, though, right, if we do see Bitcoin recovering, this will also help Zebec, right? Think about it. If Zebec kind of held its own while Bitcoin was dumping heavily over the last, couple days, then it's going to do really well when Bitcoin starts to pump, right? Let's look at Bitcoin for a second. What day did they really start dumping? On Monday, practically Monday in the AMs. Okay, Monday in the AM. So we'll look at Zebec. It dropped what? Like we said, 6% roughly. It was like 5.75, 5.80, whatever, man. Let's just round it up, right? So if we do take it from the Mondays, so the Mondays are somewhere here. So actually Zebec started to go up even though Bitcoin started to go down. But if we take it from like Monday to now, we dropped 10 to 11%. And at one point, even like 12. You have to realize that that's really good. Bitcoin dropping 6% and Zebec only dropping 12% is actually a really good ratio, especially that Zebec, generally speaking, not too long ago, had a massive rally as well. So we know we're in some type of like correction type phase. We know that. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment of truth because we are actually running out of time. We are running out of time, and we can even see up until now, even on the 15-minute, we are consistently creating lower and lower highs. We have like a low, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Okay. And you see it with your eyes, right? You see it with technical analysis. Now, I will say technically we still could tap up to here. Technically speaking, we could still tap into this wick and then sell off, right? And then you will know the big picture. But overall, right, we could be potentially seeing a breakout soon. We could be, right? Because we are on top of this. We could be going lower. But if we actually do start printing, we have this low over here, but if we actually print a higher low, then this very well may be the start of the reversal. Now, once again, technically we could go up to here and then sell off because there's a huge wick, right? So there's institutional candle there as well, which by the way, this is so fantastic. This coin is so manipulated in a way. Zebec is so manipulated in a way that makes me proud. That makes me happy. And I feel very comfortable holding this coin. I actually need to start trading this coin, leverage trading, because this is the most institutionally manipulated coin I've seen in actually a while. The way it trades is so genuinely beautiful. You guys don't understand. Maybe some of you do. It's so beautiful. Look, in the events where we actually do drop lower, let's say Zebec chooses downwards, okay? We do have a high probability of a bounce back from 0.0027, okay? That is the reality, right? But look, only time will tell. We still have, the daily candle still has to make a choice. Last time price action looked exactly like this was Bitcoin's. And what direction did Bitcoin choose? It chose up, right? It chose up. We can even see from other previous price action, it was a lot more clean, generally speaking, right? It was a lot more easier to tell where Zebec is going to go. The only time we could say there was a decent type of bait was this, because we actually started to get our first higher high, right? This was a high here. We got a higher high, but then instantly with the way we dropped just indicated, oh, hell no. Same thing with this. Monday was great. but then the other days were dreadful. Now we can see that's kind of like, wait, we're not really selling off crystal clear. In fact, it kind of looks like there's a high chance of a pump. In the event where we do pump, right? In the event where we do pump, I do believe this whole area is going to be accumulation to break through the zone. And it would not surprise me if we saw some type of big rally, potentially going up to 0.005, okay? Which would be a rally roughly of 50%. Now, you might think that's crazy, but you have to remember, if Bitcoin does start going up, this whole thing is going to be an accumulation to bounce up higher and burst through this zone, right? You gotta remember, most of the times when a coin looks to go past a big zone, it bursts through. Because if it kind of goes slowly, most of the time it doesn't break through. Sometimes it can, but most of the time it doesn't. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.